Gail Turner Brown, and this is our Small Business Saturday edition. All right, people, now you know the deal. This is Shop Small. We're focusing on the small business owner, especially your community businesses, and you want to make sure that you are supporting them because they are the lifeblood of everything. So not only are our barbershops and hair salons and people like that, we want to support them, but we also want to support our authors and speakers and people who have home-based service businesses. And so today is one of our kickoffs to Small Business Saturday. I'm here to share with you my guest, Mr. Gregory. I never can say your last name, Renard.
Yes, Renard Hunter.
Renard Hunter, right? Renard Hunter, Mr. Gregory Renard Hunter. Doesn't that sound like, he got a whole lot of money? So Mr. Gregory Hunter is the owner of Hunter Cleaning Services, and it's not just a regular everyday cleaning service. If you have, which a lot of people have, if you have ever hoarded stuff, you have a lot of clutter, you have a lot of just stuff in your house, not only physical stuff, but emotional stuff and mental stuff and energy stuff. He helps to clear that out. And he's here to tell you a whole lot more, because last time we had a conversation, I was totally filled up with just a whole lot of facts that I was not aware of. Just things that could be making us sick just from being in our homes, even though we may have thought we Lysoled it down and Cloroxed it down. But it turns out that's not necessarily just the case. So without further ado, I want to have him really talk about this and share about how do we really get our houses clean, really clean the way it's supposed to be. So with that, I want to introduce to you Mr. Gregory Renard Hunter. Thank you, sir, for being with us on our Small Business Saturday weekend. How are you doing?
I am incredible. And that's how I normally answer the phone. The incredible Gregory Hunter.
Hey, you guys saw The Incredibles. Okay, now you get to meet Mr. Incredible. This is Mr. Incredible right here. So.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be the guest on your show this morning. It's an honor and a privilege. Absolutely. And I look at it as a great opportunity to get my message out in front of a lot of folks, those who are not aware. I'm the founding owner and CEO of Hunter Cleaning Services.
All right.
We're based in Tacoma Park, Maryland.
Okay.
And we provide.
He is a local business owner that we are, that we're here to make sure that we support him. But guess what? He's really going to support us. So go ahead. I just want to let people know he's a small business in the community of Tacoma Park in Maryland, and Maryland is also where I am. So go ahead, Gregory. I'm sorry.
Right. So that's where we're based. We do get demands for service calls outside of the state, and that's just based on the popularity of what I'm doing. And people have come to know that there does make a difference in the quality of your indoor environment, especially as many of us are taking care of our parents, our grandparents. People are aging and they're not really cleaning their homes. And what's happening is the home, as I say, is actually on the attack. And many people are not aware that your home can actually kill you if you stay inside of it and it's contaminated. What generally happens is a lot of these things are very simple concepts to grasp, but it's not really on the front of our minds. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep in mind that when you're inside of enclosed space, you're breathing the air. And if there's no air, of course, you'll suffocate. Right. Now, the problem with breathing the air is what is the content of the air that you're breathing.
Okay.
So if you have, for example, a person who's been smoking in the house, maybe they don't smoke anymore.
Yeah.
They contaminated the indoor surfaces of that home with all of the toxins and contaminants that are in the tobacco products, such as lead. There's cadmium in there. There's nicotine. There's about 400 different health-threatening chemicals inside of tobacco products that become embedded in the ceilings and the walls and the furniture and on the windows. And so what happens is you're breathing in on an ongoing basis toxins and you're contaminating your organs. And at some point, your organs start to not be as resilient and able to get rid of those toxins. And then we see people and we think, well, they're moving slow because they're chronological age, and that's how people are supposed to move when they're 80 years old or 70 years old. And then we come to find out that if you breathe in a certain amount of air pollution, it actually impedes the function of all of your internal organs, the heart, the brain, the spleen, the lungs. And these are issues that I found are major. It's a major source of impedance in terms of the recovery of someone who's been hospitalized. So if you've had a stroke or heart attack or one of your loved ones has been admitted to the hospital, what's generally been happening is that when they get discharged to their home, they're being discharged into an environment that is contaminated and is going to erode the function of the internal organs.
Okay, so I need you to. Okay, so hold up, because you just laid a whole lot right there. I mean, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I need to leave my house. I got to go. My house is gonna kill me. So I need you to go back for a second. It's like, okay, do I keep breathing? What do I do? So
well, the first thing and the most important thing is that you become aware that you are always inside of an environment, and that the organs in your body and all the systems of your body, including the function of your brain, receives triggers and responds to everything that's in the environment.
Okay,
so for example, if your house is dusty, and it's filled with dust, then that's going to interfere with your ability to get a good night's sleep.
Okay, well, I don't have no problem sleeping. I sleep and I don't have no problem. But
it can lead to asthma attacks. It can lead to an accumulation of excess mucus in the system, which is basically a good bed for bacteria to grow in your body. So when you find people getting sick in the wintertime and they're thinking, well, this is a flu season.
Right.
There's really no such thing as a flu season. What's happening is the indoor air pollution is wearing down your immune system's ability to fight off germs and bacteria, and so they overwhelm you and they take you over. And that's basically what happens. So there's no amount of medication that's going to stave off air pollution in your house.
Okay, so again, let me I'm trying to digest all of this, because all of a sudden I introduced you and then you told me that my house was attacking me, okay, because I'm breathing. And I'm like real quick and all of this stuff. Okay, so first, a lot of times people do have air filters in their homes. Yes. So are you saying that does help, but not a lot? You know, and like, what are some of the remedies for? The
air filters are very, very good. They are beneficial. They're necessary.
Right.
Some of the problems that people are having when it comes to air filters is they don't do the proper maintenance.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Because people are sometimes not aware that the air that comes into your home is actually coming from outdoors.
Right.
So if you live in an urban area, for example, you've got cars passing your house all day, all night, they're emitting emissions from the engine. Those houses in the urban areas will have more contaminants inside of them that are coming from automobiles than a person who lives in the suburbs and away from the major road. So that means that their houses have to be purified and the air has to be cleaned on a more regular and continuous basis. That means they got to change those air filters and keep the dust count down to a manageable level that the body can take care of. See, your body has filters in it already. We have
exactly. Yeah, that's what our lungs, not our lungs, our lungs, but our liver and all that. That's a filter.
The lungs are filters. The livers are filters. We have a lymphatic system are filters.
Okay.
We have filters in your nose. The hairs in your nose are filters. You have filters in your throat.
Right.
Now, the problem is these filters have to be maintained the same way the filters in your home have to be maintained.
Right.
And what happens is if your home has a filter and your home is taking in a lot of dust because maybe people are not vacuuming their homes, they're not doing the maintenance on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So they're starting to accumulate contamination from the air, particles, the dust or whatever. It could also be commingled with pesticides. People they spray bug spray in their homes, and those are actually pesticides. So you have
Ooh.
poison in your air commingled with the dust. So
Okay.
that becomes a major source of organ stress.
Okay.
Okay, so if you get too much stuff going on in your liver, then the liver cannot process the load of all of the contaminants. So we want to reduce the level of contaminants in your air so that it relieves the work that your body has to do. Now, when your filters in your furnace are not being cleaned regularly, that is a good example of what happens to your body when you don't have proper filtration. You get things start blocking areas of flow in your body. And then as a result of that, you start having organ failure, cell damage, and then you start having symptoms. You may get like a neck pain and may not necessarily know that that's related to something that's in your air.
So do you think that based on what you're saying, because I do know a number of people who have suffered from migraines or
Yep.
they just have headaches a lot. They definitely have sinus issues.
Yep.
Again, I've talked to you about some folks in my family, so this still is true for them. It just keeps coming back to them.
Right.
And so, so that could be a part of that. I have a question down here. When we have the fresh air, okay. So Sherry is in Arizona.
Okay.
She says, well, the fresh air of Arizona, but we have lots of dust, right? Dust and sand. Are there filters to help clean that with especially with and the humidity? What a humidifier?
Well, you have to keep your filters running continuously.
Right.
Especially if you live in, and I spent some time in New Mexico, so I'm aware of those sandstorms and the kind of problems it can create. But the problem is with sand. Sand is basically the same composition of glass. Glass is basically made from sand. The body cannot break down glass. So when we start talking about the filtration systems of your body, there's certain organic things that the body innately is able to eliminate.
Right.
And then there are particles and materials that the body cannot eliminate. The body is not very well equipped to eliminate heavy metals.
Okay.
Glass, certain solid types of forms. So if you're living in an area like that, on occasions where you have maybe sandstorms, a lot of windy days, it's best, I would suggest, to keep your windows closed until the sand dies down, and then also clean after you have the windy occasions. I have a tendency to like to open the windows when it's raining because you have to change the air inside of your home just like you change, the food in your refrigerator.
Right.
Air has a lifespan, okay?
Right.
And oxygen is a natural oxidizer. You've seen metal turn green before?
No, I haven't seen it turn green, but I know it does.
Yeah, if you've had a person who had brass jewelry and the brass starts to turn colors, it's turning green. Okay, that process is called oxidation. It's a combination of.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so there's certain chemicals and certain pollutants that cause oxidation inside of your body as well.
Okay.
So if it's happening around your house, then it's also happening in your body. So if you're living in a rural area, for example, and you have factories that are producing things and they're using toxic chemicals, those chemicals are actually going to enter your house and they're going to be entering into your body. So you find higher levels of things like cancers and certain types of illnesses within certain regions of America based on their proximity to a warehouse.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. Okay. So
go ahead.
No. Okay. So what I was going to do, because I want to get through a lot of information in a short period of time, because I'm understanding the toxicity and things that we've got going on in our homes. Okay.
Right.
And then you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to tap into is, as we know, a lot of people now are taking care of their parents or grandparents, who are elderly, and they are, some of them are moving them from a assisted living into their homes. So assisted living is so daggone expensive.
Right,
And
right.
so I want to talk a little bit about dealing with, because you kept mentioning about the deterioration of the body and all of that, because I mean all of this is a health care issue. So
Yeah.
people who are health care practitioners, who are in the healthcare industry, this is something that they need to be aware of, correct?
It's a major issue, and actually, I've created a new paradigm for the entire healthcare industry based on the understanding that there's something that's being missed in the outpatient recovery process,
Okay.
in which a person becomes ill, they get hospitalized. When they get discharged from the hospital, they're being discharged into a home that is already contaminated before they left.
Right.
And now you take a nurse who's assigned to do in-home care, or maybe she's a live-in nurse, and they are being sent to that home to provide care, but there's no checks and balances of the quality of the air.
Right.
So you're sending a nurse potentially into harm's way. And
Okay.
I get plenty of SOS calls from social services or assisted living agencies, people who do geriatric care, on the behalf of their workers who have
Mm.
been assigned to care for a patient who has been ill for such a long time and
Right.
shut in for such a long time. And the house has gone without maintenance for a very long time. And it's become now a health trap, so that when the nurse gets to the home, they refuse to work there. And
Okay.
yeah,
So now let's go into the next, I'll say, the next phase, which is, okay, so someone has come from an assisted living facility back
mhm,
into your home. Your home has already been contaminated. That person goes through their process and then they transition. So now they're no longer here in the physical. What happens to that house? It's like, and this might sound kind of strange, but it's like, are, are they still there? Are they? Is there essence? Is there
there,
the
there is
energy that they have? It's still in that house.
yes. One of the things that's unique about my brand and my service is that, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, your screen is frozen on my side. Um, One of the things that has happened and evolved over the years as I was starting to um, take wind of all of the different aspects of the environment that were affecting human health and human behavior. One of the things I realized is that there's energy inside the house that is, in many cases, a residue from the people who are in the home. So if there is a spouse of someone who has lost a relative, generally what will happen is they will have a grieving process that will actually linger because the essence of the person who has passed is still in the house.
Okay.
So their energy becomes part of the decaying environment of the home. And what it does is it drags the energy of the person who's the survivor, it drags their energy down.
Right.
So one of the things that I have as a very unique setup is that I have what they call synchronized hemispheres in my brain, which means I'm very sensitive to intuitive type of things and spiritual things like vibrations. And on the other side, I'm very technical and knowledgeable about how to resolve it on a physical platform. So if someone loses their mom, they lose their dad, um, the essence of the person, if they were sick in the house, that portion of the house where they were still feels sick when you go in there. Even though they're physically no longer there, you have to actually remove that energy out. And because we are actually energy enclosed in bodies, it gets down to the science of what they call nanotechnology, where you're understanding that there are vibrations that are within vibrations, and there are vibrations that are left as imprints on things. If I go to clean a home and there's a couple and they're not getting along, the energy that they have departed in that house from their spat stays trapped in the house.
Mm.
And so the two of them have this negative energy that's still there because they put it there.
Yeah.
And I can actually go into the home, remove the particles that are the vessels for that energy, remove the particles from the house. And
That's like,
they level off, and then, they're back on good terms again.
and they can actually feel that energy when you've done that. They can feel the difference.
And that was the thing that led me to write my book, because for so many years, I've been doing this now for 23 years. I celebrated my anniversary on the 11th of November.
Woo, all right.
People were telling me that they were trying to figure out what it was that I was doing. They knew it was something, they could feel it.
Right.
They said the house looked good, it smelled good, and it felt good, and they couldn't quite put their finger on it. One lady, she calls me and she says, I don't know what you did to my mother's house, but she's eating again. And she hasn't been eating for years, and we just want to make sure that you don't drop us and make this a one-time visit, but you keep us in your cycle of clients. And so after that happened on a number of occasions, I had to sit back and say, okay, so what am I actually really doing?
Right.
And then I come to understand is that I'm changing the energy in the house.
Right.
And if you have energy that is using particles as a vehicle,
Right.
and those particles are transporting contaminated energy, it makes you sick in the house. So you can go to a person's home and there may be an odor, and that odor will bother the neurons in your brain to the point where your body is registering that environment as a threat to your physical being.
That's crazy. I mean, it's just really crazy.
Yes, it is. And then what happens is, because you're in an environment and your body is sensing that you're under a threat, you're starting to stress out your immune system, and you lose your appetite. So you go into the house and you can't eat. And so one of the main issues that I found with cancer patients, some of my patients are on chemotherapy.
Right.
And chemo is a very harsh procedure.
Right.
And the first thing that I've seen in many of my clients is that when they are undergoing chemotherapy, they can't swallow. For some reason, they have the inability to swallow food. If you can get them to get the liquids in, then they can work up to that, but solid foods won't go down.
That's wild.
So,
That's interesting.
So one of my goals is that if the client has had chemotherapy, first thing I have to do is make sure that the house is not suppressing their appetite.
Yeah.
If the house was dirty before they went into hospital, it's the same house when they come back.
Right.
The difference is their immune system is much weaker because they just had a surgery.
Yeah.
So they're likely now to be vulnerable to get blood disorders, lung infections, and neurological damage as well.
Jeez.
So if you're if you're in urban areas like in DC, and you have people who lived in those homes for 2 generations,
right?
They have the old radiators.
Yeah.
Well, if those radiators have not been scraped and they didn't remove that paint from back in the ages that was there before the 70s, that paint is lead-based paint.
Okay, and that's right.
As it ages and it chips off, it becomes part of the dust in the air. And so the people in the home are now getting lead poison from the radiators.
Wow.
It's off the radars of the nurses and most of the healthcare industry because their focus is on the patient. But the patient's neurological and physiological makeup responds to the cycles of the sun. It responds to whether you have a proper amount of humidity in the air, whether the air is too dry, if you can't swallow properly, if you don't have enough moisture in your home. So your body is actually taking responses and trying to adjust to the surroundings. So if you have a person who's a smoker, and maybe they didn't smoke in your house, but they smoke the cigarette outdoors, they come in the house, the smoke is all in their clothes. It's in their skin.
Yeah. You can always tell if somebody has been smoking.
Now here's the thing.
We're going to have to wrap this up. I've got like 3 minutes. And so
Okay.
There's a whole lot there. One of the things I heard you mention
Hmm.
was about your book.
Yes.
So, tell us more. Give me, you got 2 minutes
Okay.
to
Wow.
tell us about your
Challenge.
book. What's in it? How do we get it? Why do we want it?
Okay. Um, this is my signature book. It is a paradigm that I created. My business is Hunter Cleaning Services, and I created what I call intensive cleaning and home environmental medicine. And that's basically a process by where I've combined architectural technology and the cleaning industry to produce a product that has a medicinal application. So I use actually the physical materials of the home and the physical environment of the home and the knowledge of all of the living microorganisms and all the possibilities of things that actually happen in the home and how they affect the physiology of the human body so that we can restore a person's health. We can shorten the time of recovery from someone who's been discharged from the house. And then basically, this will improve the health of the entire community.
Right.
So, in home environmental medicine, we focus on learning what are the health threatening bacteria to human health, what environments do they thrive in, how do they get transported, how do they get inside the body, are there also non living particles in the home that can cause damage or obstruct the functions of the brain, functions of the liver, the functions of the lymph system. You can actually have exposure to air pollution, the particles and the dust, and it can cause you to have a stroke. And these are the things that people are aware of in terms of outdoor air exposure. But
Right.
indoor air is basically trapped, so you generally have more concentration of not only the things that were outside, but it's added to the things that you've done inside. So if you have an old home, the materials are deteriorating and they start to decompose. Those particles become part of the dust in the house. If you
Mm.
have a mouse infestation, the mice don't just chew on things, they defecate all over the house. They urinate and they poop everywhere.
Yeah.
But mice are vectors for a virus called leptospirosis, which lives in the liver of the mouse. And so creatures who spend time in stagnant water, they pick up the virus in the stagnant water. So mice run through the sewers, they go in the stagnant ponds. They pick up this virus, it lives in the liver. When they urinate, they deposit it into your home. So,
Oh, Lord.
so no longer is it enough to just get rid of the mouse. You got to get rid of the virus that they deposited in your house because when the urine dries to dust, the virus is still alive. And if you
Okay.
move and I tell the healthcare workers, when you go into a home and you see the mouse droppings around the house and you start moving things around, you're releasing the dust into the air.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a mask on and you breathe that stuff in, that leptospirus, the spirochete, it's like a spiral shaped virus, will find its way to your liver and it will destroy your liver. It will destroy the kidney. It will cause jaundice, the yellow eyes. It will cause vertigo. You lose your balance, you lose your equilibrium. It's that particular virus is the cousin to the same virus that causes tooth decay. It's a spiral type of virus, and it just drills and drills and drills and eats away until it's satisfied. It's never satisfied. so,
Gregory,
so I put this on the radar.
you are.
I put this on the radar so that when the healthcare professionals come into the home and they're gonna check your vitals and all this kind of thing, I have the book as a guideline so that when you enter into the home, how do you know that the home is contaminated?
Right.
First thing that you can do, the easiest thing you can do, is look at the ceiling fan. If you see dust on the ceiling fan, blankets of dust on the ceiling fan, here's what that means. Ready? Here's what it means. The dust in the home has risen to the ceiling already and all the way back down to the floor so many times that it's accumulated on that ceiling fan. So all of the dust that you see on the ceiling fan is just an indication of how contaminated the room is right now. You can
Okay.
open the windows. If you smoke, you can open the windows, but the smoking content of tobacco products, it sticks to things. It's a tacky substance, like
Right.
grease. When you're cooking in grease, sometimes where people cook in lots of grease, the grease sticks to the walls, and then the bacteria sticks to the grease, and then they start breathing in the grease. That's why you don't go to restaurants that have grease filters that are clogged, because they know that's a hotbed for bacterial infection. So it's important that people know how to keep their food clean and safe, the refrigerators clean and safe. You keep the air clean so that when the patient comes home, here's a very important thing that's in the book. If your body cannot go into the REM phase of sleep, you won't repair.
Right. I got you.
Medication doesn't repair the body repairs itself.
Right.
The thing that inhibits the body from preparing itself are things that disrupt the functions of the brain and the organs. So if you got adrenaline being released because you got a dog in the house and you've been pooping all over the place and you smell it and you have your senses are being overwhelmed to the point where you're not registering it, your brain is still continually releasing the chemicals of adrenaline, and that adrenaline staying on in the on position will erode your immune system, and then you want to take an aspirin, you got a headache, and then you start getting irritable, you're angry at people, and you're lashing out, and they wonder, well, why is it that when Mr. Incredible comes to clean someone's home, everybody's getting along with everyone? And
Right.
I said, it's because your brain is responding to the environment.
This is crazy, Gregory. This is
Yes.
this is
It's
crazy.
really something. It's really
Yeah,
amazing.
it is. I've got to wrap this up.
Okay.
I want to show people. Here's the book again. Can it be? Can you get it on Amazon? How do people get it?
It's going